this specifically, even she knows. Like this right here, that's an incredible look. There's so little standing in the way of you and the funny thing that's happening. It was inevitable that people would look at Hollywood films and be like, how can I do this cheaper?
Photoshop 4K, 8K animal photography nerd that belongs in the trash.
Stuff that goes into it, there's very little actual art. It's impossible, you shouldn't even try. You'll make something that looks like garbage. I don't want to hear people say, I can make something that looks like that. You can't. Like Netflix has camera requirements. The one red camera that looks halfway decent is the Red 1 MX, which is the first one they came out with. Like this right here, this shot.
I would say get an FX3. That's what we're gonna be shooting a lot of world peace on.
And then we got our lenses in here. You know what I was watching last night that made me go, holy
What?
Have you ever seen the Miami Vice movie from 2006?
No.
Wow.
No, I haven't.
Oh my God.
Wait, good or bad?
It's super good.
Yeah?
It's ultra good. It's even better that Miami Vice fans really don't like it. They would get all bent out of shape that the Miami Vice movie is apocryphal, which it is not, because it was made by the creator of Miami Vice, Michael Mann, and the spirit of it is all there. Like it's all proper and correct. But I get why people have beef with it. It's modern, and it was one of the first like major films that was shot on a video camera. So it looks insane. I can't believe that it was made in a good way. It's not a retro look. It's just it looks crazy.
Yeah.
This is shot on an Ikegami HL79, which is a standard def tube camera, and I think it looks beautiful, but it's also so dated that if you saw a comedy sketch filmed with this, you'd think that it was a retro effect. It doesn't matter if that it is a practical, like a real retro effect. You'd be so aware of the gimmick of it that you wouldn't be able to get into the sketch, you know what I mean? Yeah. Going after aesthetics and like a beautiful thing on their own, you can go overboard in that pursuit if, depending on what it is that you're trying to do. I've got to do a 15-second ad here for Fortnite. This camera, so never mind the fact that the bit rate here is totally destroyed, and this is a YouTube video that's been like re-uploaded infinity times and is 144p. Like you have to imagine, in your mind's eye, you have to picture that this is like HD, right? So if you do that, you can just tell that this camera is like like it's totally, everything is crushed. There's probably no detail in the blacks. The skin tones look kind of weird. And I should find HD footage from a camcorder that's similar to this. If you see this, it instantly registers as a comedy sketch in your mind. Like and we're talking about the imaginary version of this that's HD. When you see footage like this, your mind is like primed and ready to accept comedy. Because you know that you're about to watch a sketch when you see video that looks like this.
That's true.
So one of the cameras that we're going to shoot World Peace 2 on is the XL-H1, which is we're going to shoot stuff that looks like this, and not 16:9. So it'll be cropped. You know, part of this will be off to the side. I can't do it in the OBS thing, but like you got to put up a 4:3 crop there. This right here, okay, 3CCD. That's the look of 3CCD right there. Always Sunny was shot on a DVX 100. And it's like Always Sunny might be like the perfect ultimate look in this vein that we're talking about. Like this right here, that's an incredible look because it's so you have so much access to to the scene. Like there's so little standing in the way of you and the funny thing that's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The Sony HDC 100, HDC 300. Or the Thompson HD 1250 Lite. Those are the ones that I know of. Pretty unobtainably rare. There's something about these things that can't be replicated by filters, and the good stuff is CCD cameras, tube cameras. They're all broken, so if you get one on eBay, the image is going to be totally destroyed and not at all what it looked like originally. So if you get into tube cameras, you're going to need to become an engineer. The holy grail is the Sony HDC 300 tube camera. It's an HD tube camera. I would pay a lot of money for one of those, but they didn't make a lot of them because it was at the tail end of the tube camera era, the beginning of the HD broadcast era. The ultimate CCD cameras, the Sony F35, I think. Ultimate meaning like cleanest, best image, which is what a good amount of the good shots in Ecstasy of Car
the bicycle episode, which I don't think is out yet, but that was shot on an F-35. The F-35 is effectively produces the same image as an Alexa, just with a lower dynamic range. The ARRI sensors are really great. Red sensors are bad. I've never seen a image produced on a red sensor that was any good. Photoshop 4K, 8K animal photography nerd that belongs in the trash. Sony Venice kind of looks okay. The A7S III and FX3 are acceptable. They still look bad, but that's what we're shooting World Peace 2 on. And lenses make the biggest difference. The lenses you want to rent some Panavisions, or if you have a lot of money, you could buy some Hawk lenses, or I think it's like FJS International. Let me see. Lenses make a much bigger difference than sensor does. Everybody on YouTube and everybody making tutorials is going to want to hope, pray, believe, wish that you can have budget anamorphic lenses like these Atlas anamorphic lenses or the 𝐒𝐲 anamorphic lenses, but they don't look good. And you can't have the cheapest good-looking lens is like $20,000. These Ingenue lenses are good. The pink band means they're newer. The older Ingenue lenses are even better. The Ingenue Zoom, the 25 to 250 is incredible. We have one of those. It's for the zooms that were used in the You Whipped My Wife, the one we shot in the vineyard. Unfortunately, the lens is kind of old, so it's not quite clean as you would want. Man, the Ultimates these Atlas ones are garbage, but they're still expensive, so stay away from those. But the Panavision lenses are so good. I just got to find a way to buy some. They're $1 million for a set. All this stuff, there's a tinge of inevitability to it, and I don't mean to say that we don't have free will or something, but I mean that like the red camera was inevitable. Philip Bloom was inevitable. It was inevitable that people would look at Hollywood films and be like, how can I do this cheaper? How can I do this with a DSLR? The crap that siphons down from very high-end cinematography and ends up here with like your full-frame pocket camera, your cheap Atlas anamorphic lens, like all this stuff is just, it was inevitable that someone would want to, that people, consumers, would want to make like this. Like Netflix has camera requirements, like you have to use a Netflix approved camera to make your Netflix show, which is, and it might apply to like if you make an indie film and you're trying to get on Netflix, you might have had to use a Netflix approved camera, which is very insane. Yeah. Like that's a very insane thing. It's funny how if you think about artistic integrity, you think about people like Vincent Gallo, like people who make actual art. There's really very few of those people. Most people are like trying to get a script sold or trying to get a project picked up by, like, it's the stuff that goes into it. There's very little actual art.
Tony says, thanks for the camera advice, Sam. I saw that you have an ARRI Alexa Classic. The price of them are somewhat affordable on eBay. Is it worth getting that and renting anamorphic for music video work?
We have an Amira, not a Alexa Classic. And the thing about any of those high-end cameras is that you need an operator, or you need to be an operator yourself. The Amira is like a documentary camera, but the learning curve is still pretty steep. If you're doing music videos on a lower budget, you're going to be around people who want it done fast, and you're not going to have time to set cameras up and do all that. You have to go with the FX3. You don't want an Alexa unless you have a camera crew to help you out, unfortunately.
The reason we needed help in Montreal is because there's a company that's headquartered there called Grass Valley. Grass Valley, I think, bought the Thompson Camera Company, which is 40 years ago, so nobody that works there would be still there, but it's one lead on a camera that we were trying to acquire, which was the Thompson HD 1250 Lite, or any HD any HD tube camera of any variety, but that was one that we were hoping to maybe track down. At the end of the tube camera era, the beginning of the CCD era, there was a little overlap there between SD and HD.
Yeah.
and there were like 4 that I know of cameras made that are both HD and use vacuum tubes to pick up the image. This is a Sony HDC 300. The reason we want this is because the image characteristic is very organic and has a warmth to it, and has a it also does comet tails on highlights. It just looks unbelievable. And part of that is probably because this was transferred to HD, not HD, but 1-inch tape. So it's from a tape. That has something to do with it too. But everybody will say, oh, you can get this look with the filters or with a computer. You cannot, okay? The distance between a synthetic computer look and what this does to an image, it's just so far, it's impossible. You shouldn't even try. You'll make something that looks like garbage, and I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear people say, I can make something that looks like that. You can't, okay? This is some of the craziest imagery that I've ever seen, and it's not there's a girl's face. It's not that the colors are saturated or something. It's like like if he was filming a tomato, it would be the same thing. There's something happening. The transformation from reality to the image that we're looking at, something is happening there that is like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what you would say, but it's not the content. It's not this ocean. It's not this girl. This specifically, even she knows. Okay, this is f***ing nuts.
Yeah, this is awesome. Are there any leads to get a camera like this?
There's one guy that's going around Japan to NHK Broadcasting Studios, which is the NHK commissioned, I think, the creation of this camera.
Oh, that trail on the highlights.
Yeah,
just
man.
Saw it. Holy.
Yeah. You could look up Sony Metamorphosis if you want to see what we're looking at here. Stuff that's shot on new cameras where it's like super realistic has like an uncanny valley kind of effect, like the ARRI large format sensors. Like the old cameras that are readily available, the standard def tube cameras, they're too vintage. It looks like an effect. This type of stuff, with the exception of the comet tails, you wouldn't be able to, you'd look at it and you could tell something's up with it, but you wouldn't necessarily be able to tell that it was made with a vintage camera. Yeah. These are the lenses right here that were used to shoot Training Day. These are really cool. Actually, no, the C series anamorphic, but V-Lite anamorphic are similar. You could have a set of those for $140.
Chodíte do banky? Ťuk, ťuk. A mávate s tým občas problém?
This looks so weird. It's just a little bank commercial that was shot using Panavision anamorphics for some reason.
I haven't seen that yet. Is that new?
This is new, yeah. So this is all the 82 mil filtration pieces, star filters, and prism whoozy whatsies and whatnot in here. Hollywood Black Magic, and probably the best one is going to be Glimmer Glass. We got that, and then we got our lenses in here, and these are mostly Sony G lenses. There's one Voigtlander 10 mil hyper wide rectilinear, not a fisheye because it's rectilinear, but it's like crazy wide. This is the one we shoot the podcast on. The one Red camera that looks halfway decent is the Red 1 MX, which is the first one they came out with. I mean, they would probably think it looks terrible. Stuff that I've seen from the Red 1 MX looks kind of cool. Like this right here, this shot.
That's cool.
It's pretty sweet.
Wait, what year was this camera?
Probably like 2001, maybe. But yeah, the Red 1 MX looks kind of cool.
How do you feel about the Sony A7S III or 4 cameras for video? Been thinking of getting one. Is it any good?
The A7S III, it's the best one, certainly, at that price point. I mean, they're all pretty good. A7S III is the best one, though, but I don't like it. We have we bought 3 FX3s, which if you're doing video, the FX3 is only a few $100s more and is a better video camera. It's the camera that has the A7S III sensor in it, supposedly. We did a comparison of the A7S III, the FX6, and the FX9, which I'm sure they would say, I think they might say the FX6 has the same sensor or something, but they look very different. In our test, I had all the guys look at it, and the camera that everybody unanimously preferred was the A7S III. I would say get an FX3. That's what we're going to be shooting a lot of world peace on. Also, is the FX3. You have to do a lot of work to make your video not look like a YouTube cinematic tutorial. You want to avoid that like the plague. We're not using active image stabilization. We have older tungsten lights. You can get ARRI tungsten lights for cheap money on eBay because nobody uses them. You can still get replacement bulbs for them. They look way better than LED lights, and I don't care. I know the colors of the LED lights are used by a professional. No, it's just not the same thing. The tungsten lights look better, but yeah, you got to work pretty hard to make it not look like a cinematic YouTube tutorial.